Welcome back, everyone, for the second day of sixth edition for Waste to Energy virtual conference. With us, we have wonderful lineup of speakers for the session, which talks about technology advancements in the biogas production from solid waste. So for this session, we have four amazing lineup of speakers, starting from Dr. Suneel Pandey, who's a director for environment and waste management at TERI. Then we have Colonel Suresh Rege, who's a chairman and executive director from Mailhem Engineers ICOS. Then we have Mr. Abhay Kantak, who's a director urban practices from CRISIL Infrastructure Advisory. And then we have Dr. GP Subash, who's a technical advisor and founder Asbritech. To start the session, I would request Mr. Abhay Kantak to please turn on his video and audio so that we can have him on stage. Can start with his presentation, and then we move to other experienced panel of speakers. Over to you, Mr. Kantak.
So good afternoon, everybody, and I thank the organizers for inviting CRISIL to share a perspective on technology matters, where CRISIL is completely alien in that sense. But I think this is very important that to understand what the ground realities are and what will make the eventual technology successful, because there are certain elements of the entire activity change of solid waste management that need to be relooked at and assessed, and what will make sustainable practices for municipal solid waste management. So I have a small presentation that I wish to make. So, what I intend to focus on, what is the, current state of municipal solid waste management in the country, and what are the key issues and challenges, and what kind of projects are being taken up for processing and disposal, and what is the government support that we should be looking for to make this a success. So on the current state of municipal solid waste management sector, and I think there are multiple estimates available in the marketplace. But the general agreement is that we are generating around 54, 55 million tons to 60 million tons of municipal solid waste annually, and 25% of the waste is getting processed, and this is what in aggregate what is getting at. And a little bit more familiarity on the ground you will make you a little bit skeptical about this number, but nevertheless this is a large this is a number that is largely being quoted, but there is definitely a lot of improvement required in how the waste is processed in the current urban areas, and the rest of waste is either not collected or dumped or or burnt very openly. So the element of waste processing and disposal that is required on scientific ground is quite significant, as you see it from the numbers. And the number of of kind of investment that is required is around 49,000 crores if you were to manage this waste correctly. But the message that I wish to relay is that funding is something that probably you can make available through various programs, through innovative PPP structures, some kind of dedicated grants being available. But what is important to highlight is the way the entire waste management is happening, right from the generation to its collection and eventual, dumping or conveyance to the dump site or the sanitary landfill site or the waste to energy site. And if you look at what's happening in the country, we find Chandigarh and Chhattisgarh having a higher ratio for waste processing, and this is something maybe a small city and a small state is reporting those numbers. Then there are these island of Andaman, and then Daman Diu, NCT Delhi. Again, the smaller states are dominating this space where 51 to 80% of the waste processing is being reported, while the rest of the country is below 50%, and where the bulk of it is there. And I just want to reiterate that the data that is reported and what the ground reality is, there can be some gaps, but that is part of a different discussion. So I'll just take what the official reported numbers are as per the SBM mission. But what is very interesting to look at is the the wage generation that's going to happen in the country because of increasing income levels, lifestyle changes, and the rapid urbanization that is going to happen. So if you look at the entire urban population today, which is close to around 40 crores uh, in terms of the urban size of the population, out of the entire population of 120 crores. Uh, Now that is going to reach to close to 50 crores or so in the next couple of decades. And what is going to change is uh, the wage generation capacity or wage generation levels are going to increase threefold by 2030 and ninefold by 2050. So it's going to grow at a much higher pace than what the population is going to grow, and that is going to be that's the outcome of the lifestyle changes and the increased income. We are also going to see that waste composition is going to change. There is going to be more recyclable waste going to increase, and given that land is going to be always is going to be scarce in the urban areas, so we require a more land efficient disposal strategy, and waste to energy can be one solution can be looked at. And landfill sites are also being proposed, and we have to make sure that not all waste goes into the landfill. What can be recovered has to be recovered, and maybe there's a norm that we typically have in our transaction structures that not more than 20% of the waste reaching the disposal site can be put into the landfill. Otherwise, landfills will get exhausted very fast. What are the issues that we face at the ground level in cities? One is the collection transportation is happening in a very informal way. The contracts that are typically awarded to private contractors are very informal, do not have any kind of performance standards, and that actually impedes contract enforcement clauses. So the informality of those contracts have to be done away with. They need to be more formal and more stringent. To be fair to the contractors, one has to ensure that they get an adequate contract duration period, which will allow them to and motivate them to invest. Short duration contracts of 1 or 2 years impede investments. Typically, investment contract duration has to be around 7 to 8 years. At least that's the life cycle of a vehicle that is being deployed for waste collections. There has to be good instrumentation to track the waste collection process. There need to be weigh bridges to understand what kind of wages of waste is getting collected and carried to the disposal site, because contracts are typically structured on a per ton basis. So you need good instrumentation to ensure the right waste is measured and payments are linked to those actual waste collected. Construction debris also gets mixed given the contract being structured on a per ton basis. So the contractor, by intent, also may mix this kind of waste to ensure higher, yield on his contract. So this is something that needs to be checked at the disposal site. Disposal, as I mentioned, scientific disposal hardly is happening in many cities in the country, and city governments today lack that capacity to dispose of waste in a scientific manner. So this is going to be one area where private sector is going to be very required. And the larger issue is that there is lacking of a revenue model for solid waste management, because many cities do not charge for solid waste management charges. The Municipal Act does not provide for that. The solid waste management rules is now the last one is talking about user charges, but that is outside the legal framework under which the local government performs. So the legal amendments will need to be put in place if you need to have a user charge framework. So there's also a school of thought that this is an obligatory duty of the municipal corporation. So should there be a charge because they are charging property tax, they are having different revenue streams. Can that not be utilized to meet that collection requirement? That but that is a element, that is a philosophy that the local government would need to decide on. But nevertheless, the cost for collection, transportation, and disposal are real, and that need to be incurred. So, what are the challenges on service provision? A lot of the waste to energy players or the biogas players would demand that it requires segregated waste at the disposal site, and we know that segregation is not happening at source, and by just putting levying fines is not something that is going to change the consumer behavior, because enforcement becomes a challenge. So there has to be a behavioral change, and there has to be an IEC activity that will lead to segregation happening. Even where there is intent to segregate, the municipal collection system should allow for waste to be segregated waste to be collected and transported. Otherwise, if you are having the same vehicle, and if you're just going to mix that waste, the segregated waste that you collect, it doesn't mean much. So there has to be compartments within the collection vehicle which will allow you for to dump the waste in the right compartment. Uh, and the other thing is that collection transportation requires optimized route models. Otherwise, it becomes quite inefficient, and there is increased cost of service provision. The As I mentioned that the waste disposal mechanism has to have landfills for inerts, and whatever can be used for uh, waste to energy purposes or can be recycled, that need to be separated. Choosing the appropriate technology for the kind of waste collected is also important, and cost recovery mechanisms need to be put in place. So there are multiple projects that are happening in the country, and everybody is attempting it. But the success is proving elusive. It can be because of poor design. It can be because of the waste collection not happening in the right way, or the quantity of waste that is minimum required for the projects to be operational, technically feasible. That is may not be in place. So there is a element that is required to check on the feasibility of the projects, and the other thing that is important while in the project design is the element that waste disposal is something that the city should be focusing on. If there is some kind of a revenue that is emerging, then that is a bonus, but the revenue generation cannot be a driver for the project design. Otherwise, the contractor who bids on the basis of a revenue generation, and if those revenues are not realized, then the entire project goes into getting abandoned, and there are disputes between the municipal agency and the contractor. So we have to avoid certain pitfalls. We cannot ignore the challenges in collection and transportation. This is very important for waste to energy projects to succeed. There are very few players who are provide integrated solutions right from collection, transportation, and disposal. Otherwise, these are two contracts typically in cities, collection transportation being done one agency who has their expertise, and disposal is being done by another agency, because the capabilities required, the technologies required are very different in these two activities. The other thing is, as I mentioned, that which I keep highlighting everywhere that I given an opportunity to speak, is let's not look at it as revenue generating source. Otherwise, the entire financial feasibility comes under strain if that revenue generating source does not materialize. Uh, you need to look at the amending the legal framework to allow these charges to be levied. Just the uh, rules being formulated at a central level would not mean that these charges can be levied. The entire subject of waste management and municipal waste management is a state subject in the constitution, and legal acts which govern the working of the urban local governments need to be amended to allow this revenue to be earned by the local governments. The other thing on waste to energy is that the larger cities probably are generating large amounts of waste, and that can make it feasible to have a waste to energy project. But there are several small towns which are generating waste, but not of the of the magnitude required to justify a disposal facility or a waste to energy facility on its own. So there has to be element of jurisdictional planning, and that can be only done by a state government entity, where they should explore if we can generate economies of scale by developing clusters of projects. So, what kind of support is required at the state from the state level to the local governments? One is to create technical support units to impart the expertise for them to devise these projects, conceptualize these projects. When I say a technical support unit, I really mean as a technical support unit. State government should not take a decision on the project design that taken by the urban local body. Otherwise, what is happening today? The decisions are taken at the state level with very little ownership at the local level. And when the contracts eventually get signed with the local government, contractual issues emerge. Local government is not able to enforce those contracts. Things go into dispute, and the project fails. So it is better that the local governments are complete owners and drivers, and state can only provide oversight function to these projects. Having cluster-based projects to include smaller ULPs makes sense, and state will need to look at making land available for regional facilities to be developed. So one important point that I wish to highlight is the entire urban planning process, preparation of development plans or the master plan, which are statutory in nature. There has to be earmarking of land for these activities, because once land is not earmarked, getting land available for such activities becomes completely impossible, and they become a stumbling block for such projects. Uh, Revenue streams need to be created by amending the act. There has to be a capacity development of the local body to ensure that we are creating feasible projects. And there has to be when I say the state level, they are not only doing technical support but also doing monitoring and evaluation of the project being conceptualized and developed. Access to the local level, I think there is a need to create a dedicated department called the Environment Department, which will look at solid waste management in a very focused way, and ensure that there's a dedicated staff with the right skill sets to manage this process. Because what is happening at the urban local government level is that cities have grown, but city governments have not grown with the capacity to manage this growth. The level of understaffing that is there at the local government level is very precarious. The general impression of overstaffing typically is there at a very low level of unskilled staff, and that will probably also may be changing. But the technical staff that is required at local level is very important. Uh, there is also needs to engage the citizens in a more proactive way to segregate waste better, and that also needs for a different kind of a capacity that the local government needs to develop. I think there is that capacity to engage with citizens, and the pandemic has demonstrated that local governments have risen to the challenge of engaging with citizens in lot many states in a very proactive way. I think that is something which is a good thing that can be seen and that can be leveraged for future activities like sitting engagement for ensuring segregation happens in the right way. Setting up bulk collection systems for hotels, restaurants, and institutional waste, which is typically homogeneous, can be used to feed into decentralized waste to energy or biogas plants. And there has to be separate systems for collection and transportation and street sweeping, which is essential at local level. I think with this presentation, I just want to conclude with the focus is that waste disposal, waste collection is a cost that needs to be incurred. That should not be ignored at a local government level. There has to be ways that this cost has to be incurred. The reason is the externalities that are associated with good waste management practices far outweigh that the local government will incur as a cost. So, in my view, I would measure a local government how effective it is in managing its waste, and efficiency can come later as time proceeds. Because, as I mentioned, the externalities of or the negative externalities of poor waste management practices far outweigh the cost that we are going to incur. So with this, I would conclude my presentation and open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Abhay, for the presentation and for sharing your thoughts and views with your experience. I would request the attendees if they have any questions so that we can take it and we can pass it on to our speaker. Wonderful. Keeping the time constraint, I would request if you have any more questions for Abhay, please share that with us and we will compile and share with him over the mail, and then we'll look forward to connecting with him.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining, Abhay. It was a pleasure having you on board, and we look forward for your presence in our future conferences. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you for inviting, and thank you for all the other presenters, and wish them good luck in conveying the message. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Moving on, we have our next presenter, Dr. Suneel Pandey, Ji, Director Environment and Waste Management for TERI. I will invite him on stage and will request him to share his screen.
So good afternoon, and thank you, Akshay, and thank you, Abhay, for setting the context. So, with due apology to our other speakers in the session, Colonel Suresh, Rege, and also Dr. Subash, some of this material actually might repeat in their presentations because we had very narrow window of issues to be discussed. And also thanking Colonel Suresh Rege to be here with me sharing the dais, because a lot of my especially waste to energy experience comes from interacting with him in the early stages. And what I'll do is I'll discuss some of work which we have been doing, but a lot of it what is reported in the literature, because we as a researcher also try to keep track of what is reported in the literature. To begin with, just to set a context, I'll define what waste to energy, how waste to energy has been defined in a standard form, in easy to comprehend definition. And it says that it's a process of capturing energy from processing of waste, either in the form of electricity or heat or both. So with this context, though, I mean, waste to energy has been discussed in previous sessions as well throughout the day. I'll start with a slide on why waste to energy projects are a problem, and especially when we are looking to processing municipal solid waste. The way we segregate, the way we collect, the way we process, these are kind of problems in successfully operating waste to energy plants on a sustained manner in a long for a long time frame. One is variability in waste composition. I mean, and we all know urban waste streams, our daily consumptions are not uniform, so our daily waste generations are also not uniform. The composition keeps changing. In addition, if you look at the overall average municipal solid waste characteristics and content, over the country, on an average, around 50 to 60% of that is moisture. And if we don't address this moisture, then that can cause wear and tear, corrode the equipment in the waste to energy projects. If the inerts are high, not only they can cause fouling of the equipment, but also cause damage to the, again, I mean, physical damage to the system at times. In addition, lastly, I mean, if the waste is unsegregated and also contains certain toxic constituents because of poor separation at source. Many times, if you are looking at combusting waste in waste to energy plants, it can also lead to emission of toxic heavy metals. Not only toxic heavy metals, but a lot of times we are also discussing of issues like emission of dioxins and furans if combustion profiles are not proper in the waste to energy plants. Just to give you some historical background on India's experience on biogas. Biogas is pretty old technology when it is, when the context of, say, biogas plants based on cow dung or, dung is considered. And we have been, there were plants under various government schemes which are installed on a large scale. On the municipal waste dump site, however, we started in around kind of the significant projects of significant capacities. We started around 90s. The plant in Pune, which was started as a pilot plant, it used technology from packs. 5 tons per day capacity, started in mid-90s, was subsequently closed because of operational problems. Plant in Vijayawada using segregated municipal solid waste, 16 tons per day, and slaughterhouse waste, a plant on slaughterhouse waste, 4 tons per day. Technology was from Mailhem. Colonel Rege is here. He can probably, in case there are queries, he can he would be the right person to explain you more about that. Plant in Chennai, Coimbatore flower market to address flower market waste coming out of the flower market of the capacity 30 tons per day, based on Austrian Bima technology. And since this was technology imported from outside, at times there were small problems in terms of maintenance, and plant had to be closed down for say 6 months, 8 months because of want of spares. So many times, if you are looking at imported technologies, timely supply of spares also is a problem. It can hinder continuous operation of your plant. And the most famous one in the recent, not recent, but around 96, 97, 5 megawatt municipal solid waste, completely municipal solid waste based plant, which was designed and operated in Lucknow. Again, based on Bima digesters and Jan Becker biogas to energy engines. And because of improper waste input, those were early days and municipal solid waste rules were not there. So there was no obligation on local body to separate the waste or segregate the waste, and they were supplying waste as it is where it is. As a result, the very costly segregation system which was installed had to be closed down, had what got damaged, and subsequently plant got closed down. And during brief 1 year or so of operation, it never produced around more than 1 megawatt of power from in this plant. So these were kind of initial failures, but subsequently there were a lot of learning, except for Mailhem plant. There were a lot of learning from these initial experiences, which I'll try to capture in subsequent slides. So what I've done is I've divided my presentation essentially in two parts. One is looking at what are the mechanisms and ways and means basically to enhance biogas production in a reactor. And second is after you produce biogas, how you kind of make value-added use by enriching biogas further for value-added applications. So looking at literature, there are two ways to enhance the ways to enhance biogas production itself. And one important way basically is to use additives. And these additives essentially fall in two categories if you look at various reports and work which various researchers have carried out for various feedstocks varying from cattle dung to kitchen waste to other kind of yard trimmings, lignocellulosic biomass. And people have experimented, researchers have experimented with various biological additives. The first column gives you kind of biological additives which have been experimented. And increased gas yield to various levels have been reported. And that showed that, there are additives, biological additives, which can actually increase in gas yield. The second part of these additives are chemical additives. And again, for various feedstocks, looking at alkali addition, calcium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide, dilute sulfuric acid for better disintegration, and various other substrates, iron salts, have on various substrates resulted into increased biogas yield. And various, researchers have reported yields from as low as twofold increase to as high as around 172%, 166% higher methane yield in terms of methane. The other process and design related changes also, which various reports and researchers have indicated, that have resulted into increase in biogas yield. The simple processes, but they have certainly resulted into increase in biogas yield. Pre-treatment, various processes of pre-treatment of feed before feeding them into digester has resulted into biogas yield increase. Research also shows that digesters in the places, if they are designed sun-facing, then the sun keeps them warm and the biogas yield is increased. Similarly, researchers also on solar panel assisted digestion systems, where you can feed, not only heat the digesters but also feed heated water to the digester. In terms of digester design, if you increase the surface area, for example, from the conventional design to spiral design, has resulted into increasing the yield. Multi-phase reactors in place of single-phase reactors have also demonstrated to increase the yield of biogas, or also, in fact, increase in yield of methane in the biogas. Researchers have also shown that if you pressurize your digesters up to, research has shown that up to 100 bars, reactors have resulted into increase in biogas yield. Co-digestion for the feed with low volatile fatty acid. If you kind of mix it with other feedstocks, has also resulted in increased gas heat. And coordination also now, especially in terms of sewage sludge, because sewage sludge has been problem for long, and not many cities have effective plan for dealing with sewage sludge after they treat the waste sewage water. Many researchers now currently are trying to co-digest that with various feedstocks, including municipal solid waste, and optimizing the conditions so that they can be. There's a significant increase in biogas, and project viability also improves. These are various biogas utilizations. These are, I mean, kind of utilizations which doesn't require much technical, technical challenges, and simply, I mean, after biogas is produced, as shown in the schematic, the slurry goes for farm applications, and the gas at the various stages can actually go for, say, for cooking. Simplest application for biogas is into cooking, where you don't require much cost and simple to operate. It can be commercial cooker, it can be rice cooker, it can be water heater, thermal application into water heating, but it can also go for, say, for example, if you want to weatherize that further, can go to conversion into electricity. And also, I mean, the gas which is generated, which I'll discuss later, after further purification can go to the natural gas network. Now, the second part of my presentation is about valorization of biogas, how to get more value of the biogas which you get, and this actually falls into category of upgrading biogas system. And there are various technology options. I'll not discuss them into more detail, but for the want of time. But we can discuss it if required in Q&A session. Water scrubbing, most popular with or without alkali to remove moisture and H2S. Sorry, not moisture, but H2S and other gases. And also to remove CO2 to enrich the biogas. Solvent-based scrubbing, again to remove CO2, chemical absorption. Pressure swing adoption, very common and very popular now with CBG projects. Membrane separation, slightly expensive to operate, and so not much uptake as of now. And most futuristic cryogenic separation, which is done at sub-zero temperatures for CO2 removal. But I mean, again, very costly option. Now, what we have seen, if you look at biogas history and biogas, the way projects have been developing, we are starting from very simple thermal applications, where I'll discuss very briefly about the technology which we developed at TERI, because initially I discussed about multiphasic reactor. So what we have done is we actually have come out with design which is biphasic, and for the application up to 1 ton, 2 tons per day. The design is fairly simple and fairly easy to operate, and we have separated actually the acidification process and methanation process into 2 different reactors. And in first series of reactors, we leach out the green boxes, we leach out the waste, and this leachate which comes out after acidification is fed to USB reactor. We have adopted USB reactor to biomethanation process. And the gas which comes out is very rich in methane. Around for most of the substrate, we get gas which is higher than 70% methane content. And the slurry can be processed again, wastewater into dry manure, and water which is recovered can again be used in making slurry in the wastewater system. So in a way, it's a closed loop system with very little requirement. Once the process gets going, very little requirement for extra water. So, I mean, these are some details. HRT, which we can achieve, is 6 days, and digested waste is very good manure. And in the biomethanation reactor, the HRT is 16 hours, and COD reduction, which we can achieve, is around 90%. Produces no slurry, aesthetic look, a very low water requirement due to recycling. And since you are actually putting up leachate in the biomethanation process, scum formation is generally not there. And we have been kind of implementing this in the industrial premises since January 1999. Though there are challenges, as I said, in doing it for municipal solid waste because of very variability and inconsistency in what you get as a waste. These are some of the, kind of flame which is coming out from the process. And what has happened is, though we, for our process, our technology, at present, we are using only for thermal application. The technology has evolved, and this is one layout where technology has also been used for power production. Though power production module increases the cost of biogas plant operation, but there are processes which have shown that power production is possible. And subsequently, from power production, because of IOCL's purchase of compressed biogas assurance for purchase. Now plants are started operating at much larger level. For example, this is 12 tons per day plant at Indore, which is installed by Mahindra. And there's a compressed biogas production of 800 kg per day with methane content in excess of 95%. And so, this is where how the evolution of biogas has happened in India. And given the support which is now coming for alternative use of biogas other than electricity and thermal and cooking applications, because in our country, thermal requirement is generally not so much, being a temperate country. This is still, this is certainly looking promising. So with this, what I'll, quickly conclude by saying that there's still gap. If you're looking at further utilization of recovered methane into various other, say, second generation biofuel or important chemicals, biochemicals, there's still some gap between technologies which are being developed by various research institutions or universities. And to bridge this gap, there's a private sector infusion of funds and fund is required. And there are certain kind of R&D challenges which need to be addressed for making the sector more feasible, especially if we are looking at waste to be valorized. Because of very fact that we'll all agree that on an average, the waste which country like India generates has high moisture content and low calorific value. And the waste, if it can be sorted out into easily degradable fraction, which is our green waste, then there is no reason why biogas technology cannot be successful. With this, I'll close my presentation, and thank you so much for your kind attention. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them up.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. We have a question. Oh, okay. Basically, there's a request for sharing your contact details.
Sure.
So, moving on, thank you so much, Dr. Pandey, for delivering your presentation and letting us know your thoughts from multiple perspectives. And we are really glad to have you on board and have your presence as our speaker. And we really look forward if we can have your continuous support and continuous presence in our future conferences to make it even more stronger.
My pleasure.
Moving on, we have next presentation from Colonel Suresh Rege, Chairman and Executive Director from Mailhem. I would request him to come on stage and share his presentation.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It gives us a great pleasure to be talking to you on the technology advancement in the biogas production from solid waste. And would like to, at the very outset, thank Mission Energy for giving us this chance. The Mailhem itself, the word is very, very significant. Mail in Sanskrit means waste, and hem in Sanskrit means gold. We thought of converting this waste to gold years ago, almost 25 years ago, when people didn't even think about it. It is today, it has become the buzzword, but we thought of it at that time. If you look at the Mailhem expertise on the left side, anything which putrefies, जो भी चीज सड़ती है, can be converted into biogas. That is our expertise. Jitna bhi smell, the dirty acidic smell, that is a better waste for converting into biogas. On the right side, if you look at it, today we have gone from strength to strength, from small 100 kg to 1 ton plants. Now we do all hundreds of tons in the integrated solid waste management plants. The credentials, I don't have to. We have almost more than 325 biogas plants all over the country on different substrates. And I would invite any one of you to go and visit any of the plants. You don't even need to take up permissions to visit those plants. We have on different substrates and enough experience garnered over 25 years to do the things what people are talking of doing it today. If you look at the map, all over, mostly towards the south and the central India, and we are trying now to get into this towards Uttarakhand because we have just recently bagged a 50-ton project on a segregated municipal solid waste at Rudrapur. So we would have a few more dots in the north also. But get on to the biogas. I'm not going to get into much of these things because I think Pandey Sahab has explained it in very much details. But basically a biogas, if you see, the composition is about 50 to 70% of methane depending on the substrates, carbon dioxide 25 to 40%, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide and nitrogen is less than about 1 or 2%. Basically, it's a mixture of gases produced by the breakdown of organic matter in absence of oxygen. That is the critical part of the biogas plant. Now the applications, now you must know that when we started, it was basically for cooking. Everyone was doing this for cooking and everyone thought that you're doing a wonderful job if you could replace the LPG. Later, we got into the business of generating electricity. If you recollect, we had when we started, there were dual fuel engines. They used to talk that you put in about 30% of, the diesel and 70% biogas. But if on ground, actually, it was the other way around. So then, slowly but steadily, the people started getting 100% biogas engines. Cummins, Ashok Leyland today have 100% biogas engines. Then we started getting the use for heating. And mind you, heating and cooling are simultaneous. Either you can heat or you can do the cooling part. The Thermax, the absorption chillers could also do the cooling part of it. Then you had these electricity, bigger generation power plants which you could get. The gensets were available from GE, Wärtsilä, Caterpillar, and you started it. And now the latest thing that we have is making it into auto fuel. I think Pandey Sahab explained to you the upgradation of biogas. Basically, the biogas, if you can make it beyond 90% of CH4, you can easily convert it into a auto fuel. Now we have plants like at Mahindra's plant in Indore. We also have a plant which was just recently, visited by the petroleum minister. And here only I would like to say that this is going to be the future of the biogas plants because all oil marketing companies have been given a mandate to put up minimum 5,000 biogas plants. And these substrate is not of consequence. It could be agro waste, it could be food waste, it could be municipal solid waste, it could be anything that putrefies so long as you produce 2 tons of compressed biogas. The Indian Oil and the other BPCL and HPCL are willing to buy this from you at 46 rupees. And if you can have a buyback, guaranteed buyback, all these banks will come forward to fund these projects, which was a major issue till now. The anaerobic digestion, the multiple steps involved, if anybody is interested, he can always come and visit us in Pune or any place and we will give you more details. The 4 stages are solubilization, hydrolysis, acidogenesis and methogenesis. I'm not going to go into the details. Anybody you can have, I'm sure the Mission Energy people will be able to put up this through on their website so you can have these details. Now, for your information, the oldest plant was set up in 1859 in Mumbai. But actually, the commercial things, of use of these biogas and the upgradation and things started in the late 90s. That is how these things have evolved. I will not tell you more about it. You can open an MNRE site and you will get all these details on the how many biogas plants and all are there. What I'm more interested, rather than the small biogas plants, what is the potential that we have today from the biogas plants? Now, the beauty of this biogas plants is that from anything which you can say, and you look at the amount, the quantities, 250 million metric tons of agri residue is available to you, 49.5 million fraction of municipal solid waste, 338 million metric tons of animal dung, 23.5 million tons of municipal liquid waste. It is humongous. It is phenomenal that if we can even tap a portion of it, we will be able to receive huge foreign exchange for our resources, resource for India. The point at issue here, which I'm trying to tell you, and I want to make it a very, very emphatic point here, that all this while we've been talking of the potential. I'm hoping that I've been in this line for more than 25 years, that the day will come when this potential will be generated on ground, and it will not only remain a potential. Now, what was the problem? Why couldn't we do it earlier? That now what we are talking of it? Because earlier, most of these biogas plants with the low-rate biogas digesters, we had these KVIC designs, which it is a very good thing for the rural energy and the rural villages, but it cannot sustain at a longer, the higher capacities. Then we had different types of these biogas plants. Whatever the problem there was no mixing provision. These are the hydraulic retention times were 30 to 100 days. It was the organic loading rates were very, very low. The entire substrate which we were feeding into it was never being utilized. Simple example is, if you see your gobar gas plant, you put the entire cow dung from here, and most of it, barring 30 to 40% of it, which is converted into biogas, comes out as a slurry. Now, of course, it is all right in the villages, because you can use that slurry which comes out, or 70% unused material can be used as for farms as a manure. But it cannot happen in the cities and the places. What you are looking at is a much better digestion for substrates which are there, which are being fed. You want more than 90 to 95% that the substrate what is fed into converted into your biogas. Then there were no temperature and pH controls, and that is the reason why we had so many problems with these biogas plants. These plants could be only of small capacities, and most of these had dead zones. The dead zone means whatever substrates were put, they were not fully utilized, and so at certain stage you have to open them up and remove these from the substrates which were not being converted into biogas. This is the same summary of what the drawbacks of the existing low-rate solid waste anaerobic digester technologies, which were being used for some time till the 90s or late 90s. Now, how are we trying to improve the biogas yields and the productivity? The first and the foremost is the pre-treatment. Now, whenever you heard earlier, the biogas plants only talked of organic waste like the cow dung, or it spoke of human excreta, or to the maximum of food waste. These other substrates which had a plenty of lignin and things could never be used. And that is why we say today the substrate pre-treatment has assumed a very, very important part in this biogas yield improvement. Then you can have fortification of lacking supplements and additives. You can add and you can get much better production. Similarly, there has been phenomenal improvements in the digester designs, which I think Pandey brought out very well. What are the advantages? And that is the reason why we've been able to get these better yields and better production and a number of substrates. I mean, who would have thought that even your stubble burning, which is creating so much of a problem in the northern region, can tomorrow, maybe another year or two down the line, would be utilized to generate biogas. People used to talk, it is too much of a lignin, you just cannot do it. But today it is possible that because of the substrate pre-treatment and the supplying these supplements and additives which were not there earlier, you can easily utilize these. And today, the aim of everyone down the line who is in this line is to optimization of the reactor operating parameters. Solid feedback pre-treatment, it could be biological, chemical, physical, and combined. Now, all these are available to us today. We don't have to look abroad. We have all these technologies, all these institutes, TERI, this ICT, they all have put in a fair amount of effort to get you whatever you need. All that you need is to tap the right people and at the right time. This will reduce hydrolysis time, improve the feedstock degradation by 5 to 30%. You can well imagine how much generation of biogas will be increased if you use these pre-treatment strategies, and how many substrates you can add to your biogas. This helps you not only because if you recollect, earlier days people used to talk that the biogas at a biomethanation plant requires a single substrate. But today, what we have specialized in, especially my group specializes in, is a co-digestion. It can be different substrates because today the availability is dependent on the season and it is dependent on the areas where you are putting up your plants. So you need to think in terms before designing how many substrates or what are the material that is available to you, because whatever with my experience I have seen that generally it is not the failure of the technology why these large size biogas plants have failed at times, but it is the basic failure of the logistics. If you consider that you are going to get different types of waste and you do not consider these things in the initial stages when you are designing it, it is extremely difficult to make it a successful biogas plant. So please remember that it is always that it's very easy to blame the technology suppliers that your plant is not working, but nobody goes into the details why the technology is. It's not the technology failure. I would like to repeat that it is basically because of the lack of the feed material which you don't get it. And mind you, biodigester is not a mechanical thing. It's a biological thing. If you put up a 100-ton plant, you need to feed it, a minimum 50% of it throughout the year. You cannot say that today that I have a 100-ton plant, for 3 months I'll feed it, and 2 months I don't have the waste, so I'll keep it hungry. No, it doesn't work like this. And that is where the failures of these large size treatment plants, biogas plants have come up. Additives for improved biogas, this fortification which I said, today there are n number of enzymes, micronutrients and trace elements available which will benefit for optimum activity of enzymes and microbes for stable plant operation, prevent acidification and prevent biomass washouts. Now this is very, very critical if you're going in and making it and looking at this biogas technology at a commercial level. Mind you, you're investing huge amounts. So you need to give the investor the comfort level that you can produce this not only for a few days, but for many, many years to come. Advanced high-rate biodigesters, like the Dr. Pandey has already said, that you have various technologies. Now we had these upflow anaerobic sludge blanket. We started with that, but it was basically initially only for the liquid waste. Then while homegrown research and development, we had modified RSB, UASB, where we could take substrates which had more suspended solids. Similarly, the continuous stir tank was a very standard design, especially in German type of biogas plants. And now today, we have made an ideal combination of upflow anaerobic, modified UASB, and CSTR. This is what I'm saying, that the advancements are an ongoing process. You've got to do it on ground, learn the hard way, and whatever you learn from your past experience, you have to put it on for your next plant, and you will always get better results. You have these hybrid USB, you have plug 4 reactor. Now the advantages of this is we can have co-digestion, very low HRT rates, in fact high organic loading rates. If you have high organic loading rates, you will definitely have better production of biogas. The temperatures are and the pH control systems, if you can monitor them, you will always have very few failures. High COD removal efficiency, and you have so many of these systems which are now available to you that you can go ahead and take this on a commercial level. And I think the government of India, the ministries have realized that this is a huge potential, and now this potential can be converted into commercial exercise. Here I would like to say that even the dry digesters are coming into India in a big way. Now it has got an advantage, these dry digesters, because you take it like a poultry waste. Now the poultry waste requires a huge amount of water if you want to use it. Now the poultry people do not require this water. So where do they take care of this water? They don't have the use for this water. So that is why places and the areas where you don't require the slurry or the liquid water which is coming out of it, that dry digesters also will be a big success for these substrates which require less or more of water. This is the same thing which has been put it, that shorter HRT, maximum substrate utilization, and high output. These are some of the examples where pre-treatment and additives are available: Novozymes, thermal pressure hydrolysis, and these Metaplus L100. These are all things which are available in India today, which can improve the potential of the biogas. This is exactly what I've been talking. Solid waste disposable through eco-friendly way, reduction in carbon dioxide release. These are the basic advantages. Waste is converted into ready-to-use, nutrient-rich organic manure. Generation of carbon-neutral biogas fuel leads to improvement in environment, sanitation, and hygiene. Employment generation it's a big thing today, and encourages circular economy. Being in this line, we have got few accolades which I would just like to flash. We were awarded on the first anniversary of Swachh Abhiyan on 2nd October 2015, award as a garbage guru by no less a person than our Honorable Prime Minister Modi. We just recently, very recently, we have got the award for the operational excellence in biogas by the Indian Biogas Association as a winner. We have been concentrating on the quality. Way back in 2012, we had the Quality Control of India Award for maintaining the quality in the biogas all over the country. And today, like I said, we have been declared at a Nasik plant of ours, which is 500, as best city compost supplier. So this is the one. And the last but not the least, one was given a Lifetime Achievement Award. And jokingly, when I receiving the award, I said, when you give a Lifetime Achievement Award, this was in 16, we are generally either kicking him upstairs or asking him to call it off. But I am one person, till the last day, have that passion, and you'll keep hearing me on these biogas sessions, whether you like it or otherwise. These are the prestigious customers. Thank you very much for a patient hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colonel Rege. Thank you for a wonderful presentation and a very insightful one, where it all started from a very lighter note and ended with wonderful recognitions that Mailhem ICOS and yourself has received. Moving on to our last presentation from Dr. G.P. Subash. In the meanwhile, I would request Colonel Rege to please stop his screen share so that we can invite Dr. Subash on stage. And in the meantime, I would request all the attendees to please share their questions in the feed area so that we can push it to our esteemed speakers. Now I would request Dr. Subash to be on the main stage and share his presentation, and would request to keep it crisp so that we can have a time for Q&A. Over to you, Dr. Subash.
Yeah. Thank you. So just a second.
I would like to announce that after this session, there will be a valedictory session by Director General Mission Energy Foundation right after this session. So we are looking forward to invite everyone there so that we can have a thank you note by the DG himself. Over to you, Dr. Subash.
So can you able to see that?
No, you have to open the presentation that you opened. You have to open the presentation. Yeah, please switch it on slideshow mode.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can you able to see now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you. So thanks for the opportunity to present about this technological advancement and the production of biogas from the solid waste. So our company, the Asbritech Energy and Neurotechnology Private Limited, is mainly focusing on the biogas and the bio-CNG production from various material, that is organic material. So here we are mainly focusing on the gas, which can be from maybe the MSW, or it may be from other industrial and other applications, that is from the waste. So just I'll be giving the introduction about what is that biogas and other things. I think a lot of people already covered, so I may skip this. And then what is the waste to energy at present, and what is the bio-CNG technology, so that I can discuss. So this is the current scenario in India. Actually, these are CPCB data and MNRE data, I think 2 years before. So even you can see there. So in India per day we are producing around 1,44,000 metric tons of organic waste. I'm talking about only the municipal waste. You can see, and we are treating only 32,000 around is the waste what we are treating. That means in this field even lot needs to be done, and even for the companies to enter, they have the huge you can say potential to work on these bio-CNG and biogas projects. So at present in India, the MSW processing usually as in mainly on 2 to 3 categories. Normally what are the MSW comes, that is it's a mixed, so it will be then segregated into organic and the inorganic. And the organic will usually if it is smaller projects, people used to do it composting as it is, and it is a bigger projects, say it's 50 tons and above, then usually it's viable to go for the biogas and bio-CNG. So then of course from biogas projects also, the byproduct is the organic manure apart from the CNG. And whatever these inorganic materials, that plastics and other things, so it will go for the material recovery facility, and we used to take out this RDF material, and inert will go to the SLF. This is the at present the technology whatever it's used in India. Actually this MSW 2016, as in the my morning session also I was mentioning. So after this MSW 2016 rules, now there is a great concentration on these new technologies, how to dispose the waste in scientific manner. And moreover, this municipal corporation also enforces the rules on the bulk waste generators also, and even the citizens, that they have to source segregate. So, and normally if you go for a small and other projects, so usually it will be costing high, and there should be some decentralized facility, and where the municipal corporation or other bodies can send their waste over there, and we can able to process. And actually the simple solution will be the biogas. I think I'll skip this. So just an introduction of biogas. And actually whenever we are designing a biogas plant, it should be a multi-feed system. So as Mr. Colonel Rege was also mentioning, that is true, that we have to go ahead only with the multi-feed, then we will not land in trouble. If you are concentrating only on one waste, then 100% there will be issue in future course of time. So the digester, like it may be a domestic waste, it may be a market waste, it may be animal excreta, or the agricultural waste, or the industrial organic waste. So our digester should be in the position to treat whatever organic material is available, and then we can convert into biogas and agricultural manure. Usually this biogas plant is a green solution. Always we say that, see here the highest revenue when we produce of the gas is the cooking gas. So we can able to sell this biogas by replacing the commercial LPG. So we'll be having a more revenue. And second one is automotive fuel. It is as you all know, because of Sata scheme, now it is getting momentum. And the last option may be electricity generation. Even with the advance of new technologies, we are going for the CO2 bottling. So because see, biogas has a 60% methane and 40% CO2. So the CO2 also be recovered and we can able to sell it as an industrial gas. This can be used for the welding and all other fire extinguisher, all those applications. Now even we have the technology, we can able to make the food grade CO2 out of this biogas. So that much is the advancement has been happened now. And whatever the slurry comes out, that we will convert into fertilizer. So here that you can see whatever the waste comes to our plant or the site, nothing will be wasted. One will become the fuel, another will become industrial gas, and another will become the manure. So in municipal solid waste, so usually the way is like extracting the organic waste out of this mixed waste. Then we'll be producing the gas. Then we need to upgrade, or you can say the purify, as per BIS 16087 norms. So in this, where the methane should be above 90% and CO2 should be less than 4% is a major criteria, and H2O should be less than 20 ppm level, and I think moisture will be less than 5 mg per metric cube. So this is the thing we need to maintain when we are upgrading the gas. So once it is upgraded, it can be used for any application like industry, canteen, vehicle, or whatever is the thing. And manure can be used for landscaping and farmers or whatever it is required. So usually in domestic and these hotel waste, we'll get around 100 cubic meter per ton. This average gas production. In some cases it is good, even when we say very high amount of volatile solids present in that, then we get more amount of gas. Usually in the market waste, it will be around 60 cubic meter per ton. And cow dung is the least, but it gives a very good stability to the digester. It gives around 40 cubic meter per ton. Usually this is the case in the municipal waste. And as I already discussed, the various applications can be used. So here, for example, when we are going for automotive fuel, so in this case, we need to have the bigger cascades to do that. And if it is a restaurants and other applications, so we have designed a 4-cylinder cascade, so which can take the gas, and through PRS system, we can decrease the pressure which is required for the line pressure, and we can able to use it for any of the application. And what is the value proposition when we go for the biogas? So usually this is a better combustion than LPG, because LPG has a higher hydrocarbon, and here in biogas it's mainly the methane. It's the hydrocarbon, you can say the carbon is a single number digit, and it's a zero residual gas in the cylinders. See, in case of LPG, there will be some residue gas present in the LPG cylinders, even though we are paying for the full cylinder. But here in biogas, a customer uses or they can pay only the amount what they are consuming, because there won't be any residue in the cylinders. And the faster cooking will be achieved by regulating the pressure, because we have the 200 bar pressure, and it's not like in the case of LPG. And it's a carbon neutral, as you know, and then it's a green USP and whatnot. And similarly, this organic fertilizer, you can say this mainly as per FCO norms, the NPK should be rich in it. I think cumulative will be around 1.5 is a requirement. So here we can able to get whatever is the requirement. Over and above here, the micronutrients are very high in this fertilizer coming out of these digesters. So then we'll have a very good yield as compared to the chemical fertilizers. And another concept now we are working on this carbon credits. So if any company which is not able to go, that is reduce their carbon emissions, so they can opt this bio-CNG projects. For example, if it is under TPD organic based projects, we can able to get 20,000 tons of CO2 emission equivalent. That is, we can able to reduce it. 1 ton usually replaces 33 tons of CO2. So that is the beauty of when we go for this bio-CNG project. So at present, around 8 to 12 rupees is the carbon credit rate. That is 8 to 12 dollars is the fetching rate for this, and we are working in India also to bring the same concept. And this is a CARB data. This is a Californian Air Resource Board. They says When you use this biomethanization in diesel or a petrol engine, you can see the carbon footprint more than around 87 to 89% we can able to reduce it. So that means it's a fuel which is a green, and it can reduce all our hydrocarbon or the unburned hydrocarbons in the air. And the subsidies, as you are aware, now MNRE gives around 10 crore is the maximum subsidy per project. And if it is a 12,000 cubic meter and equivalent, you will get around 4 crore. And similarly, for the organic manure from MSW, you get 1,500 rupees as a marketing subsidy. And I think 5 to 10 years is the income tax holidays for this project. And even we have the accelerated depreciation. And statutory requirement like a PCB, PESO, and state fire and factory license. This is a requirement when you want to establish a project across India. And how do you choose the right technology? Now we'll come to the mainly the technology focus now. So these main key elements like what kind of raw material you are using, and based on the raw material, what is the pre-treatment is required to enhance the gas production, and what is the AD process, whether it's mesophilic or thermophilic, all these kind of things we need to see. And similarly, the purification technology, whether it's a PSA or whether it's membrane technology or the amine technology. So these things needs to be chosen based on the methane slip and other parameters, and whether we are going to bottle it or whether we are going to inject in the grid. So this is the new concept now, inject into the grid. Already IGL started this work, and moreover, what kind of application we are going to use it, and finally, what is the technology we need to use it for the manure production. And usually when we, the cost effective and the right technology is very important. When we have, for example, in the case of biomass to energy, so for example, the paddy straw, corn silage and other agricultural residue, it required pre-treatment mainly because it has a higher lignocellulosic content. So you need to break the lignocellulosic. Because of that, you need to have the pre-treatment. There are different kind of technologies available. And at present, we are using some of the technologies like the steam explosion and the extrusion, all these technologies. And other things, of course, is MSW projects. You need to have the better segregation and other pre-treatment is requirement. And defibering is also the new technology is emerging now. And food waste to energy, like it's a pure organic waste. There won't be much issues in the technological front. And then similarly, bio waste like a press mud, powder litter, cow dung, it required a very normal technology to process the waste. So you don't need to have much pre-treatment for this bio waste. So I think already has been covered. That is a various AD processes. I'll just skip this. And when we are choosing a digester, like I already told you, in Indian condition, usually we'll go for the mesophilic digesters. Why? Because our temperature across more than 9 months across India will be around 30 degrees. Only in the month of December, January, somewhere in the northern states, the temperature comes down. So we can have the heating system inside the digesters to cope up the temperature. And thermophilic usually record elevated temperature, but in that case, then we'll be losing the energy. So that is why in Indian condition, always we'll go for the mesophilic digesters. So that will be very useful. But in case of the HRT period, if you compare, then of course the thermophilic digesters has a very lower HRT, and this mesophilic has, you can say, around 30 days. That is a requirement. And when you design a digester, so when we once we collect the organic waste, it comes to our station. Then according to the requirement, you need to do the pre-treatment. Then in the digester, so we need to maintain certain parameters, like the first and foremost is the pH. And another one is the CN ratio. There's a carbon nitrogen ratio, then hydraulic retention time. So it depends on that. We need to vary the solid rates, and then similarly the organic loading rating. And the temperature is another parameter. The variation in temperature will reduces the gas production. Similarly, the solid content, usually in mesophilic digesters, you need to have around 15% is a solid content, and the number of stages actually it increases your efficiency and the feeding mode, whether it's a batch mode or a continuous mode. All these things needs to be decided beforehand when we go for a project. So, and of course, once we get the gas, then the post treatment, and those are very standard. And similarly, the digester will convert into gas. And this already shown. So these are projects has been done under my guidance in Indore Municipal Corporation. So these are 20 TPD projects. You can see here we have gone it with the vehicular application. So we are filling the gas to the vehicles, and similarly the auto rickshaws, whatever is there. And even we are giving our gas to the IIM Ahmedabad. There we are giving for the cooking application. And similarly, this is the genset of bio CNG and the natural gas. We can able to use it in this. So we can able to generate the electricity also. So in some of the cases, you can see here the vehicles we are using it for the same bio CNG vehicles to collect and transport the waste and even the manure from our plant. And similarly, these organic manure we have generated, and we are bagging it, and we are selling for a premium rate by mixing the microbes along with this. And even we have proven that the organic manure, after mixing with these microbes, it gives 25% higher yields compared to the chemical fertilizer. So if a farmer you want to use this fertilizer, then they no need to choose about the chemical. Then gradually you can say in a period of 2 to 3 years, he can 100% convert into organic manure. So at present, we are doing the process like the Greater Chennai Corporation. It's 100 TPD per day capacity and IRM energy. So here the processing capacity is, as I said, the 100 TPD will be given by the corporation, and estimated around 10,000 cubic meter of biogas and 20 TPD of biomanure. So we can able to give this to the under such a scheme. So this is a good model. What is the project we have taken, and another this process flow diagram. What is the project we are doing there? So whatever the waste comes from the various hotels, industries, and all other things will be collected, and it will be sent to the pre-segregating unit. It's a mechanized one, so there is no requirement of any manpower, or there is no requirement of any manual interaction. So you have to just dump it in the hopper. So from there, everything will be automated. The segregation, grinding, and separation, pumping, everything is automated. So from there, now we are going for the digesters. Then whatever the slurry comes out will be converted into manure, and whatever the gas comes out will be purified and will be used for various applications like electricity production or the vehicular or the LPG equivalent fuel. So these are the process flow diagram what we are following in our one of the biggest project, that is under TPD project in Chennai. And another project, as I said, the one of the city gas distribution company, we already started the construction, everything. So it's under TPD project of paddy straw conversion. So it gives around, you can say, it will give around 30,000 to 40,000 cubic meter gas. That means per ton will yield you minimum 300 to 400 cubic meter of the gas. It depends on what is the pre-treatment technology you are using there. And whenever you go for a project, the important phase is the project feasibility study and the getting the land. So the project feasibility study usually will take at least say 1 or 2 months time. So that means you have to see what kind of raw material available. Not only the one, as I told you already, you need to have the at least few more raw material availability, and similarly the water sources. Then of course the land allocation or acquisition depends on the project, whether it's MSW or the other projects. And then once you are okay with that, you are confident enough in that, then you go for the approval process. Second, the PCB, PESO, and there is explosive department and other licenses. Then we can enter into construction and fabrication, installation, and trial run, and finally we hand over the projects to the end user. Yeah, so we can do the all turnkey job. And so anything, any questions, you can mail me or write me in this number. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Subash, for your presentation. I would request you to please stop sharing your screen so that we can start taking questions. Now, we will directly move to the questions, and we have the first question where I would request Mr. Bhaskar Bhattacharya to raise his hand so that he can come on stage and ask the question that he has raised.
I want to know the minimum piece of land that actually I have a very small piece of land in my area of around 3,000 square foot. Within this square foot land, and there are certain bushes and grasses and other plant products which I develops mainly during time of rainy season, and all those I want to utilize this in that place. Is it possible for that small piece of land? setting a plant and doing this sort of work.
Mr. Bhaskar, you're raising this question for whom?
For Dr. Subash. For Dr. Subash.
Okay, Dr. Subash over to you.
Okay, so you mean to say that you have a small piece of land and you are there is some bushes is coming out. You want to use that, right?
Yes.
See, actually, if it is a lignocellulosic material contains, that means the bushes are very soft in nature. Then you can shred into pieces and you can able to feed it into the digesters. Nothing will happen. But in case of the nature of it is a lignocellulosic content material, then you need to have the pre-treatment. But of course, the given very small project of say maybe 50 or 100 kg it seems. So in that case, it's not viable to go for the pre-treatment and other things. So whatever is there, I think
not commercial
study.
purpose, not commercial purpose, but mainly for cooking purpose, home cooking purpose.
Yeah, cooking purpose, there is no issue. So you can shred it as much as small particles, and you can able to feed it to your digester. It can give gas, and along with that, put little bit amount of cow dung. Then it will work very fine.
Much. Okay. Cow dung is difficult in a town.
Yeah, at least then food waste and other things you can add it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bhaskar. Now, moving on, I would request our three esteemed speakers if we can have 2 minutes of a closing note and a way forward from each of them. And in the meanwhile, I would request the attendees if they have any questions to ask. I would like to start with Dr. Pandey, then Colonel Rege, and then Dr. Subash. 2 minutes on 2 minutes closing thoughts on the subject.
Sure. I mean, the technology development, the way it is happening, and the way we are getting Government of India support on biogas is perfectly feasible technology option for kind of waste we generate, and it has great future. And also looking at future researches into producing further processing methane and producing value-added chemical products. It has also future in playing important role in circular economy, closing the loop. Thank you.
Over to you, Colonel Rege.
Yeah, I would suggest that today the potential can be easily converted into reality. This is a fact because you have the technologies. We don't have to go abroad to get these technologies. Only issue is that you need a financial support for the bigger projects. And when you are getting this support from these, like under the Satat policy and the ministry, my only request would be that the banks and the financial institutions must be brought into it, and they must not rate these as high risk factors. They are still not convinced, and for that, I suppose we have to show them, or the people concerned have to tell them that this is no more a high risk, from the financial point of view. Because without the finances, what will happen is there's so many people into this line, and without the financial support, it will die down. And this is what, because I know, is the perseverance that we have survived. And you need, if you look at the solar and the wind energy, all the companies with the deep pockets are in it. How many of them, barring Mahindra, is into this waste management? So I would request all these people to look at it, that the technology is available. If you make the finance available, I don't see why this biogas or this renewable energy from biomass is going to lag behind the solar and wind. Thank you.
Over to you, Dr. Subash.
Yeah, see, in my point of view, really this bio-CNG projects is one. There's a green energy projects needs to be, you can say, has to be powered, or you can say it has to be propelled by the government. Okay, so mainly here they need to have the policies mainly for the supply side, either in case of biomass or they should have the policy for handing over this MSW in the segregated or whatever maybe the format is required to the biogas plants. So these things they have to enforce the rules and regulation of the whatever the SW 2016 norms. And similarly, since now the RBI has made this it's the primary lending priority lending sector biogas. So I think now banks are coming forward, but only the government banks like SBA and others are only showing interest. But the private banks still they have the problem. They are not considering this as a viable project, as Mr. Colonel Rege was mentioning. So I think we need to support the entrepreneurs in terms of this availability of the land, supply chain, raw material, and the funds. So technology, we people are there, and a lot of new technologies are coming out. So there won't be any issues in the technology. So only these logistics and all other things needs to be managed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Subash, for sharing your thoughts. Moving on, I would I would request anyone if they have any questions, and if not, we'll move ahead for the closing of this session. Okay, since we do not have any questions, I would really like to thank our esteemed speakers who have joined us, Dr. Suneel Pandey from TERI, Dr. Colonel Suresh Rege from Mailhem ICOS, Dr. G.P. Subash from Asbritech. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a wonderful and a very knowledgeable sessions. I'm sure our attendees would have learned and are really looking forward to network with all the experts sitting here. And we really look forward if we can have your presence and your support for our future events so that we can make it even more stronger. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving forward, we have a valedictory session at 4 from Director General Mission Energy Foundation. We look forward for everyone to joining there. And till then, we sign off and thank you so much for all the speakers who joined us. We look forward to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pandey sir. Thank you, Subash.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abhay. Very well done.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome, Colonel Rege.
Thank you.